In this video, we're going to learn how to use the drawing set. You'll find a little paper that looks like this that will give you some different techniques for how to draw lines, how to blend your colors, and it'll teach you the different pencil types and how they go from light to dark. In the box, you will find 2 blending stubs. You'll find a white charcoal pencil, 3 drawing pencils that will range from a light colored pencil like a 2H to a medium graphite pencil, a 2B, and a darker graphite pencil like a 4B. We will also have a carbon sketch, which is made of charcoal, and you will have a dark graphite stick. This one is a 2B. You'll also find this strange eraser called a kneaded eraser. If it looks dark gray, you can warm it up in your hand and stretch it, and that will actually clean the eraser. See how I got lighter on the edges? You can also bend it so that you can make tiny parts of the eraser to erase in small areas. I'm going to use the medium pencil, although feel free to, actually, we'll use all 3. I'm going to start with the light graphite pencil, and I'm making a value scale from light to dark. So right now I'm just going to shade with my pencil, which means to color. I'm going to hold my pencil down at the end of it so that I can shade lightly. I'm going to shade so light you can barely see it. And I'm using a 2H pencil. The H stands for hardness on the pencil. The harder the pencil, the lighter the graphite will be. If it has a B next to the number, that'll be a darker pencil. The B is for bold. That'll go into a darker value. In the next box, I'm going to push a little bit harder with this 2H pencil with my shading. It's okay if your shading's not perfect. So I've got 2 different values now. As I get to the middle, I'm going to push just a little bit harder, and this is about as dark as this pencil will get. I'm going to shade in my box. So I have a 3rd value. Now I'm going to switch to my 2B, or the medium range pencil. This will be more like the pencils, the yellow pencils that you use at school. I'm pressing maybe a medium amount of pressure. Still holding my pencil at the back end to create this value. I'm going to make it a little darker by putting another layer. Now I'm going to push harder with this pencil, more pressure, to get a darker value. And I can get it just a little bit darker. This is about as much pressure as I can put on this pencil. And I'm going to switch to my 4B with a medium amount of pressure. I'll get a darker value. And the last one, I'm pushing with a lot of pressure to get the darkest value I can. I'll make this one a little darker. Okay, so there are my pencils from light to dark. If you're working on an area that you're unsure of how to draw it, or maybe you need to erase, I would use the lighter H pencils to maybe the medium 2B pencil. If you're working on an area with dark value, definitely go more towards the 4B or darker pencil. If I'm using a 4B pencil, it is not going to be easy to erase. To demonstrate the 2B graphite stick, it should be probably about here, but because it's a bigger area, I can push harder and I can color more areas. So it's good for larger works. And here is the carbon sketch. This one will get extremely dark value. It's also very messy. And our white charcoal, which you probably won't be able to see because we have white paper. So let me put some on top of the graphite. I can blend the sides of the graphite with the white charcoal and draw on top of the black charcoal. Now, I want to make something that looks three-dimensional with some values, and I'm going to use one of these blending stubs, and I'll get my pencils back out. I think I'm going to make a sphere. So I'll start by drawing with the 2H pencil, the lightest one. Yours might be a little bit different number on there, but it should be an H pencil. And I'm drawing a sphere. It's very, very light. Now, I'm going to decide that my light is coming this way. You can have your light go that way or from the straight down from the top. But wherever your light is, that's going to be kind of where your highlight is. So I'm going to draw another circle, well, kind of like an oval shape. That will be where my highlight hits. So I'm going to start shading a little bit around that highlight, very lightly. Very, very lightly. And I'm doing kind of like a scribble. Just a zigzag back and forth around that circle. And I'm going to get to the edge of my sphere, and I might push just a little bit harder. And I'm still just kind of scribbling. See how I'm holding my pencil at the back of the pencil. And I'm going to get over to here. This is where the shadow is going to be. So I'm going to push a little bit harder with my pencil. It's not going to look perfect yet because this is just the beginning. And I'm going to make a curved shadow. It's going to curve with the shape of my sphere. As I get closer to the shadow, I have a heavier pressure. As I move away from the shadow, I have a softer, lighter pressure. So you could describe the way that I'm shading almost like making hatch lines. Hatch lines are where you draw lines straight up and down, and then you draw lines perpendicular. And the closer you put the lines, the darker the shadow. So as I'm coloring, I'm kind of coloring up and down, and then I color over it. Although it looks more like a zigzag. Alright, so I think I have some pretty good light values. I'm going to switch to my medium, which is a 2B in my box. It might be a little different than yours. And I'm going to darken the shadow. As I get closer to the shadow, I'm putting more pressure. And as I get to the lighter value, I'm going to soften how hard I push with my pencil. So I'm not even really coloring over on this side, maybe like a little bit around the edge. But it's mainly down in the shadow area. In this middle part, I'm putting very light pressure. All right, and I'm gonna switch to my darkest value. I have a 4B in my box. It might be different in the one that you have. And I'm darkening that shadow even more. The closer I am to the shadow, the darker the harder I push with my pencil. And as I get into that medium area, I'm gonna push softer. All right, and I'm also gonna add a shadow. My shadow is just kind of a oval. So if my light's this way, my shadow would be to the right. And I don't like this bottom part, so I'm gonna take my eraser and erase a little bit right here. There we go, that's better. Okay, so now I'm going to clean up my edge now that I'm done shading. I clean up my edge, I fix it with my pencil line. And then I'll take my kneaded eraser and I'll make a little point and kind of come in and clean up any stray pencil marks that I have. I don't worry about cleaning my lines until the very end when I'm done. If you worry about it looking clean the whole time, it's gonna take you forever. And I might go back with my light pencil, my 2H, to clean up the edge on the light side. Add a little tiny bit of shadow on that side. Okay, now is the really fun part. I can leave it like this to where you can see all the texture, but it's kind of fun to blend the shadow. So you can either use your finger to blend and it makes it kind of soft, or you can use a blending stub. Now, if this blending stub has already been used, I suggest getting a Kleenex or a paper towel and wiping the blending stub on that to get off any graphite that might still be there. Because when I take this graphite and I go to the light area, I don't want dark graphite showing up. So I'm gonna start in the lighter area. And it's like I'm just coloring with it. Trying to make it really smooth. I'm not pushing very hard, just lightly, in kind of circles. And you can tell it's starting to blend evenly. I might work it back just a little bit to where it was. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and stop. If you do ever need to get an area lighter, remember you can use your kneaded eraser and just kind of stamp it onto the paper. Experiment with using all 3 values of pencil, the blending stub, and go ahead and experiment with this charcoal and white charcoal too. I'd like for you to try out a value scale and to try some values making a sphere.